Now, I'm really excited to introduce our next speaker, Caroline. Not only because she's my teammate on the platform partnerships team here at Facebook, but because I've seen her take an idea of Startup Garage in Paris from that simple idea all the way to success today. And so, here to bring us through the lessons learned through Startup Garage in Paris, I welcome Caroline to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Really happy to be here. I'm going to talk to you about data privacy because I believe that users' privacy can be an opportunity for startups and more broadly for innovation and society. So I'm not a privacy expert, but all my life I've been working with startups and entrepreneurs, and that's exactly why I joined Facebook a year ago when Facebook decided to launch a startup focused on privacy. So my name is Caroline Matz. I manage Startup Garage program, the very first startup incubator that Facebook did, based in Paris. And we launched that program 2 years ago with what may seem like a common sense goal, help startups grow their business. But there were an extra twist to it. We wanted to work with startups on privacy. So what is Startup Garage? Startup Garage, it's a 6-month program, entirely free, where we select 12 startups from France, operating in France. All those guys at the graduation party, just here. Some of them are in the room as well. And what do? We organized a series of workshops where we share methodologies and tools from Facebook on product management, user experience, machine learning, etc. We also provide the startups with mentoring from Facebook employees only. But most importantly, we felt we needed to do more in terms of privacy and that we could learn from others. So together with startups, we looked at how can we fuel success in the data-driven economy with privacy in mind. How can we keep innovating at the same time that we build products that are safe and protecting people's data? How can we think differently about privacy? Imagine new business models, new technologies, new ways of doing privacy. Recent events like Cambridge Analytica confirmed us that trust needed to be at the core of what Facebook does. So I'm really happy to be here today to share trends and learnings from Startup Garage that are inviting startups to think about users' privacy as an opportunity. And that shows to Facebook and the wider ecosystem that we can learn from it. So there is 3 reasons why you could think of privacy first. I'm going to talk about those 3 reasons. The first reason is that people expect it. So it's estimated that 90% of the total estimated amount of data has been generated over the past 2 years. The volume of personal data available online is exponential, and with the right tools and technologies like AI, we can help address the world's most crucial problems. But it's also scary, right? Recent events showed us that bad actors can take advantage of systems that did not prioritize users' privacy the way users expected. So people care. People understand more how the data is used and show increasing interest. And they ask for trust, transparency, and control. That's the new normal we're living in, and it's a good thing. It also means that we need to educate the users on how the data is used so they can feel more in control. The second reason is that when you think privacy by design, you make better decisions for your company. And that ultimately drives a more sustainable growth. And I'm going to share some thinking, some benefits about it. So first, when you try to put user trust at the core of your product, you naturally adopt a more user-centric approach. And that, of course, helps you make better decisions for your product. The school project is a startup from the garage. they were redesigning their onboarding experience, and they were trying to figure out how to ask the users for the consent to use the personal data in order to improve the service. So they conducted a bunch of user research groups, actually more than other startups. And they realized that as they were sharing more information about what they were doing with the data to users, some of the users were keen on sharing more personal data in order to have a more tailored experience. A second benefit that we observed is that when you try to implement your data strategy, you tend to kill silos in your company. I worked with a startup that was bigger than the one in the garage. They were reaching 300 people, a health tech startup, and they were entering a new highly regulated market. So they decided to hire a data privacy officer. The data privacy officer had to meet the leadership team to set up the new vision, the product team to change the way they were building the product, the the legal team to rewrite the privacy policy differently, and the marketing team to align the communication with the vision. And the CEO told me that as they were growing fast, that was the trigger that rallied everyone around the vision, and that she had never experienced such cross-functional collaboration inside her teams. Finally, when you better structure your data, it drives innovation. So if you put the right data management tool in place, you better structure your data, you make a better use of it, and with a layer of intelligence, it drives innovation. And that's very powerful. Okay, we jumped to the reasons 3. So the reasons 3 of why you should put privacy at the core of what you do is that it creates business opportunities. And I'm going to share with you 3 examples that we've observed from the garage that shows that. So as you may know, European regulation is coming, but it's not just a European thing. And with it appears an opportunity to build products that are helping your customers to meet with their regulatory requirements. And that's exactly what Reminder did. So Reminder is a tool for recruiters that help the recruiters to make more accurate decisions based on data intelligence brought to candidates. If some of you work in human resources, you may know that actually the candidates' data is unstructured and super hard to manipulate in a company. So what Muhyiddin and his team did, they diversified their offer and they built a plug-and-play solution to help their customers use the service while remaining compliant. Another example is Check. So Check actually came to life with the mission to help companies like banks meet with the Know Your Customer regulation. So what is it? It's an app that allows people to manage their digital identity, but also, as we can see here, allows them to share their personal data with their banks, update it when they want, and everything in a synchronized way. Finally, the last example shows that privacy by design can become your competitive advantage. Because people more and more tend to go to products where they feel safer. And that's the case for Mapster. So Mapster is an app that helps you save your favorite places on a map and share it with your friends only. So it's interesting because they adopted very early a strict privacy by design approach. And the users kept asking for more social and sharing features. So they had to build on a new paradigm where social meets privacy. And actually this led to more users' retention and more users' loyalty. I'm now very happy to invite Olivier Binet from Caros, a startup that just graduated from Startup Garage, on stage to share with us his vision about privacy and how does he implement it in his company. So please warmly welcome Olivier Binet.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
Thank you very much, Caroline.
So I know you just raised $5 million, so I just wanted to
Thank
congratulate you on that.
Thank you for having me here. Extremely excited to be at F8.
You're welcome. So can you share with us what is Chaos?
Well, the mission of Caros is basically to transform empty car seats into structured transportation systems. We've built an app that leverages geolocation and AI in order to transform and to make carpooling on daily commutes extremely effortless, truly reliable, and extremely flexible.
And why personal data is important for your business, actually?
Well, you have to bear in mind that when we started 4 years ago, carpooling on daily commutes really was like a kind of a Craigslist experience. You would go on a website with ads, and you would look for a potential carpooler. Maybe you would make a team with this person, define a specific daily routine, and then you would carpool with the same person at the same hour in the morning and at night for the same trip. This is what we would call at Caros a static experience, and it creates obviously a huge dependency on one single carpooler. It is not compatible with variable office hours. So when we started this project, we really wanted to create a whole new experience of carpooling, basically going from static to truly dynamic. And to do that, we've built an app which works as a kind of a smart assistant, which understands your daily habits, continuously gathering and collecting your location data. Not using GPS, because this sensor would kill your battery life in less than 2 hours, but we're using Wi-Fi and GSM triangulation, which we clean. We get noisy data, but then we clean it with algorithms, and that way we can understand exactly what people are doing. This is very important because that way we understand where people, on each of their commutes, what was their origin, what was their destination, their itinerary, their trip time, their potential detour, their departure hour, their arrival hour, and even we detect automatically their transportation mode. And this is really important because that way, leveraging machine learning algorithms, we can actually predict all their next trips with more than 80% accuracy. And with this in mind, we actually develop a kind of revolution because we develop a new transportation system which is constantly updated every single day, so it is extremely reliable. And the experience for our passengers is a very smooth experience. They can hop in cars pretty much as smoothly as they would do in a bus. This approach, this scientific approach, provides us with a huge competitive advantage. Carpooling becomes extremely seamless, extremely flexible, and therefore I'm pretty sure it was key to reach our product market fit, which is evidenced by 8% growth of our usage week on week over the last 20 months.
And in that case, how do you think about privacy, actually? Because it's kind of important.
Yeah, so obviously privacy, to do that, is extremely important. Because we had this approach which consists in getting the geolocation data of our users 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we needed to be extremely thoughtful about privacy. So privacy was truly built in our app since day one. Our users choose the level of information, opt in, and choose the level of information they are ready to share. So they know the information they're sharing. They know how we're using this information, what for. Obviously, they know that this information is securely stored. They know that this information, this personal data, is not monetized. We only use it on an aggregated basis and anonymized basis for overall carpooling reporting for our clients. And in return for sharing these data, they get and they reap great benefits. They actually save lots of money. They save on average $100 per month carpooling regularly. They save 24 minutes per commute on average if they used to be in public transport. They gain a lot of social interactions because they meet lots of new people they actually transform this moment, boring moment of commute into a shared and enjoyable experience. And last but not least, collectively, they have a very positive impact on the environment because they are reducing CO2 and local pollution emissions. So Karos is one of many examples showing that when you actually leverage personal data with AI, you open brand new ways to tackle problems that were actually pretty poorly addressed before. But since we are in a consumer business, in our view, it's extremely important to do that for the public good, actually, but to do that in full transparency and in very close cooperation with our users.
And do you have like specific features that you can share as an example?
There are various features, but a good example, I guess, is what we call the proof of carpooling. As I said, we want to be a public transportation operator. So our clients are local authorities. We sell them this transport system. And a key element of the service that a transport operator sells to local authorities is ticketing. So we wanted to provide something pretty similar to our local authority clients. So, this is the carpool proof. So when a user, a passenger, gets into a car and starts the carpooling, he kind of punches the ticket in-app, just like he would do in a public transport. And our algorithms compare the location of our users, passenger and driver, along the way to make sure that the carpool has actually occurred and detect all kinds of various frauds. And this is great and key to incentivize carpooling, obviously, because since we know and we are sure that a carpool has occurred, we can tell this to our client, and the client can put incentives which drives usage. For instance, a free carpool spot, a free parking spots reserved for carpoolers, or even subsidized trips so that the pricing becomes extremely attractive for both passengers and drivers. And eventually, which is extremely important when you start a business, obviously, this carpool proof is also a key element to our business model, because you couldn't have a proper business model on a NADS static website. People would meet and then they would get out of the system. In our business, now that it becomes a true public transport, we can sell this as a service like any public transport to local authorities. And this extensive traceability enables us as well to have a full reporting, which enables us to understand very precisely the mobility habits and the mobility needs on a territory. And this is a great way to monetize our carpooling business to local authorities.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Olivier. Karos is one of the... Yeah, so Olivier and his company, Karos, is one of the 12 startups that we supported during the last year. But we're also super happy because we are launching season 2 in a couple of weeks. But we are doing it in a campus where actually thousands of startups can benefit from those learnings and where we can keep learning as well. So for me, the key takeaways from this talk that I wish you could remember is that from running the garage for like a year, I realized how startups like have a huge role to play on how we innovate with privacy in mind. And if you haven't started, I guess maybe a lot of you have already, but if you're a startup, an entrepreneur, developers, and you haven't started, think about it. Think about privacy at the very beginning of your project, and think about it as an opportunity. Because we all need to learn from it. We all need to think about privacy differently. So developers, entrepreneurs are empowered to build the future that they want. And soon, I believe that every startup book that you will read will have a privacy chapter. Every incubator will have a privacy chapter. Every investor, every user, every customer will ask you about privacy. And the way you answer the privacy question can determine if you will be successful or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Caroline and Olivier, for taking us on a journey to Paris to Startup Garage. We'll break for 10 minutes before we talk about bicycle sharing platform, OFO.